Thank you, my brother John. I want to begin with Psalm 122. It touches my heart. We are in a day of mission, and it has a message for us. Psalm 122. I rejoice with those who say to me, let us go to the house of the Lord. Our feet are standing in your gates, O Jerusalem. Jerusalem is built like a city that is closely compacted together. That is where the tribes go up, the tribes of the Lord, to praise the name of the Lord, according to the statute given to Israel. There the thrones for judgment stand, the thrones of the house of David. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem. May those who love you be secure. May there be peace within your walls and security within your citadels. For the sake of my brothers and friends, I will say, peace be within you. For the sake of the house of the Lord our God, I will seek your prosperity. Friends, I want to take you to Uganda, and I will spend more time talking about my experience. I'm a missionary for Africa, and John has said many things, but first of all, my wife and I are very, very happy to be part of this mission. I again say thank you to the Dean and President of Trinity School for Ministry, and for my brother, Canon Dr. John MacDonald, a long-time friend. When we met in the office, I was Bishop-elect, and we said, let's do mission together. And we agreed, and you see how it has led us. He has come many times. I want to thank God for Deb, Reverend Deb Carr. Where is she? She has been on the team, and some professors and students, so you can see the mission of Jesus Christ strengthened. And when we prayed for this, I said, what an opportunity for me to come and be part of the mission day here at Trinity. I am already blessed. And Beatrice talked to the women last night, and some men are telling me, my wife told me what she said. What a blessing. What a blessing. I know most of you are in chapel. I will not repeat what I said, but I receive again greetings from Masindi-Kitara Diocese, where by God's grace I was called to be the founding bishop. It was carved from Bunyoro-Kitara Diocese. And Christ Church at Grove Farm had a 10-year commitment to serve before Masindi-Kitara became a diocese, and we met many people, like Janet and many people. I want to thank God that my daughter, our clergy woman, Reverend Lydia, is here, you can see. In the Church of Uganda, when a bishop does not say yes, where do you pass as a clergyman or clergywoman? But because we value Lydia's ministry and we thank God for her gifting, we said it's an opportunity for her to come. And thank you for receiving Lydia. She's learning to live in a cold place because Bunyoro region is warm. It is closer to the north. So you can see she's adjusting, and her body is rightly adjusting. So Lydia, you are among your brothers and sisters in Christ. Uganda is a landlocked country, neighboring Kenya. Our port is Mombasa. So Kenyans, thank you for allowing our goods to come through Kenya. So when I come to your house and you and my wife, you give us seafoods, they are strange to us because we don't have seafoods. We have Nile perch. We have those kinds of fish in our lakes and rivers. But Uganda has 33 million people. It has the fastest growing population in the world, one of the fastest growing populations in the world. It is slightly smaller than Great Britain, but you can see the population is growing very, very fast. And it's a multi-party democracy, and we do most of the things like agriculture, and in Masindi we have mainly maize, groundnuts, cassava. We have sugarcane because we have a big sugar company that produces sugar. So we are an agricultural country. Coffee is grown, cotton to some extent as cash crops, but mainly people are peasant farmers. So even when there are problems of civil wars, Uganda never runs short of food. Most of the year we have rain, and we have matoke, bananas. Matoke. We eat matoke as food and as ripe bananas. We had some at the tea time, but that is Uganda. Now, about the Church of Uganda. The Church of Uganda was founded by CMS missionaries. CMS missionaries, and it was way back in 1875 when an English explorer, Henry Morton Stanley, came to Kabakamwanga in Buganda. They were so friendly. I'm sure he had brought him some guns. And then he was happy. In his mood, he said, why don't you write and bring more people to evangelize our country? Then he sent a message to London. It was put in the Daily Telegraph in London. And graduates of Cambridge and Oxford came up together. And they formed an association, which became CMS, to send missionaries to Uganda. And in 1877, the first missionaries stepped in Uganda, and it was in the Buganda Kingdom. So that means Uganda was being evangelized. What was it before the missionaries came? People used to worship through mountains, rivers, the ancestral gods, and there was God of fertility. When there was any problem, they consulted the grandfathers, the spirits of the dead. But now, when the missionaries came, then people saw the light. And in 1961, the province of Uganda, Rwanda, Burundi, and Bogazaire was established. That means the Archbishop of Uganda would stretch over to Congo, over to Rwanda, and over to Burundi. So for a long time, it was one province covering those areas. Later, Rwanda became independent, Burundi, and Congo, so it remained the Church of the province of Uganda. In 1885, I must tell you, Bishop Hannington, who was also CMS missionary, was on his way from Mombasa, entering Uganda, and there was a misunderstanding. He was killed in eastern Uganda. He remains one of the people remembered for the work of the gospel that he did. And then in 1885, the Uganda Martyrs. These were servants at the king's palace. And King Mwanga went out hunting. When he was out hunting, he was disappointed because he didn't get anything. He shot nothing. So he came home disappointed. And he looked for his servants who were already serving him. They were not there. He was very, very disappointed. And he said, where are the boys? And they told him, the servants at the palace said, they are attending class from the missionaries to be converted. He didn't like that. With the anger missing at his hunting trip, he said, you need to stop that. And they said, we cannot stop. They were being instructed to be baptized. They were not yet baptized, but they were so strong in faith, young men, teenagers, and they said, we cannot stop. He told his men to compel them to give up their new faith, and they refused. So they were given chances, last chance, and then they said, we cannot give up. And they were tied and put on fire at Namugongo and systematically burnt to death. They were singing until they died. So every June 3rd, Uganda commemorates the Uganda Martyrs. And they inspire us up to this day as a country, as a church. Because when we are at Namugongo, remembering how they gave up their lives for the faith in Jesus Christ, we say, for us, we are not being persecuted. Many times people relax. They don't follow Jesus closely. And when we remember the young people who gave their lives for the sake of the gospel, we say, we need to move on. We believe in a loving and caring God. So Uganda Martyrs to us are very important. And Archbishop Janan Luwum, now, the second Ugandan Archbishop, after Leslie Brown was the CMS, he finished his work, went back. We had Erica Sabiti as the first Ugandan Archbishop, then followed by Janan Luwum. In the time of dictator Idi Amin, I can't compare with him, with Pharaoh, who was a cruel king in our church history. But Idi Amin was semi-literate, a graduate of P4. What do you call it here? Fourth grade. So, but he had been a good army officer in the colonial times, And he was a sportsman. He knew boxing and swimming. And he was a commander of the army. And when the first president was away, he overthrew the government. And because he was semi-literate, he hunted all the professors at Makerere, and anybody who was very understanding, did not want him. He got him out of the way. So many went to exile and many were killed. Archbishop Janan Luwum was a very honest man, and he was leading the house to say things that would help the government, himself, to see that he was doing bad to kill innocent people. The economy was bad. The soldiers had come out of the barracks. They were owning shops. Can you imagine a military officer coming out of the barracks, running business? The Asians had been chased away, so life was so hard. And because Archbishop Janan Luwum was an honest man, straightforward, telling that he needs to lead the country in the right way, to stop killing innocent people, then Archbishop Janan Luwum was killed. On February 16th, he was killed, and it was a great loss for Uganda, because we loved him. He was a spiritual man. And also, Janan Luwum gave his life for the sake of the gospel. As a good leader, he did not want to run away. He stood firm. So he's another inspiration. And at Westminster Abbey in London, his portrait is there, and he was declared a martyr of the 20th century. Another inspiration for Uganda, for the Church of Uganda. And we want to thank God for that, because the province continued to grow. Even in the times of Idi Amin, the churches were full. People were closer to God. And we had been grounded on the spirit of East African revival, whereby people were free to confess their sins, to walk in the light. It is getting lower now, but it is spread from Uganda to Kenya, Tanzania, and all over East Africa and other neighboring countries. And therefore, that was another way that we kept together. The province of the Church of Uganda has 33 dioceses. 33 dioceses. Masindi-Kitara was the 31st. And now, January the 8th, we shall be inaugurating the 34th diocese in South Ankole. Those of you who know the geography of Uganda, West Ankole and East Ankole are giving birth to a new diocese of South Ankole. In Ntungamwazi, you move to Kabale. Those of you have been to that direction. So that is the province. Our Archbishop is the Most Reverend Henry Lukorombi. By God's grace, I served under him as Provincial Secretary. I organized his installation, and we worked together for a year, and Masindi-Kitara diocese was ready. By God's grace, I was humbled to be the first bishop. As John told you, Beatrice and I are born in Kabale, southern Uganda, neighboring Rwanda, and my brother from Rwanda studied at Bishop Baram University, and I'm chair to Bishop Baram, which is a constituent college of Uganda Christian University. So 40 years ago, because Kabale is overpopulated, we moved to Hoima. So, born in Kabale, now we live in Hoima in the great kingdom of Bunyoro-Kitara. It is over 1,000 years old. Bunyoro-Kitara kingdom, it used to spread to Kagera in Tanzania, but we can't claim that part anymore. So it was a great kingdom. And Uganda still has kingdoms, but they are only traditional institutions. They don't have anything to do in politics, and their constitution is clear. They are not supposed to involve themselves in kingdoms. So we have lived in Hoima, my wife and I, for 40 years. But we haven't been married for 40 years. We were all young people, teenagers. We followed our parents. And as it were, let me tell you about that story. I was a youth leader in Hoima, in the village, in Wambabia. And she was a member of the choir, of the youth group. And she captured my eye. And as I was leading the group, even teaching music, I would look around and go back to her. And then later I said, I would like to marry you. And she said, yes. And we've been married for the last 33 years. And we have 4 boys and 1 girl. 2 are married, and we have 4 grandchildren. And we thank God. So when I was in Bunyoro-Kitara in 1977, the first Bishop of Masindi-Kitara, in the House of Bishops, they had got an appeal from Karamoja. Karamoja was considered a missionary diocese. And the bishop was from Belfast in England. He was a British Churchman's Missionary Society, BCMS, not CMS. That was a sending agency which became Crosslinks, I think. So we were called, 3 young men, and the Bishop Eustace Ruhindi now went to be with the Lord. He called us and said, doors are open. We want to send you as missionaries to Karamoja. We were engaged on the process to get married, and here God was calling me to be a missionary in Karamoja. And people said, those people have tails and they eat people. And people would say, why are you going to Karamoja? How on earth can you go to Karamoja? They eat you, and you'll die there. Then we would say, we are going. The next day we would say, we are not going. A call to missionary work is so difficult. Missionaries know what I'm talking about. You are going out of your normal life. So 2 weeks after Archbishop Janan Luum had been killed by Idi Amin, we set off our journey to go to Karamoja to be missionaries. And Brian Hart, the man from Belfast, welcomed us, very friendly man. Only after 1 week, he was deported by Idi Amin, given hours to leave, because, the CID's intelligence group followed him and thought he was not the right man to keep there. So you can imagine, the bishop who had invited me had been deported, and I had only spent a week, so it was hard for me. Then the Bishop of Soroti, neighboring diocese, was given to be caretaker. I was in the center of Moroto. I was a lay reader, not yet ordained, and then I was there for 2 years. Then I went to Bishop Tucker College to do theology. And I went as a Karamoja student. When you go to UCU, I don't appear as a student from Bunyoro. I am a student from Karamoja. So I was ordained in Moroto after my theological study in 1981, December. And then I was given a parish near Kenya-Uganda border, near Kitale, and I was there for 4 years. We already had 2 children. One was born immediately we reached there. And then we had twins in Karamoja. But one of our twin sons died, the second one. But the twin, Timothy the twin, is now a big man. He graduated and he's doing his work. And so we were there. And in Karamoja, life was very hard, as it is for every missionary. The food was different. The vegetation is all thorns, even the grass and the shrubs. But what was more scaring, the Karamjongs. They are pastoralists and they are cattle rustlers. They believe that every cow and the son was given to them by God. So when they go and steal cows, they are recovering their property which was given to them by God. Yeah? So many times, Beatrice, like any Karamjong woman, would cook food by 6, because a failure to do that, the warriors would be surrounding the house with their guns. Many times we had put our mattresses down to take cover because the bullets would be flying all over. And the food was so difficult. We would have maize flour, which would come all the way from Mbale, neighboring town, and it would stay in store. It would be sour. The beans would have weevils, and I can remember Beatrice putting the beans in the water, and the weevils would be on top, and she would remove them and cook. That was the food we were enjoying. And but when I look back now, I'm not enjoying the same food. We have good food. So that was missionary experience. And I don't remember in my parish doing any wedding. For them, I did baptisms, but no wedding. I said, for 4 years, I cannot have a wedding. But our life was speaking to them, and our work, God was helping us. I used to do the cleaning of the compounds, slashing or cutting the grass personally. You can imagine a vicar getting a slasher and clearing the compound. She used to sweep the church. And let me tell you, the Karamjongs fear dead bodies. When a woman is having a sick child in the hospital and the child dies, she runs away because they think that's a bad omen. That's why in a family, when a person dies, they will move to another village because they don't like seeing dead bodies. So we started another ministry of teaching them to bury their dead. And we would take the hospital workers and the Christians to dig the graves. And you know what? The hyenas were terrible. Because they were used to eating dead bodies, they would come and scratch the soil. But we would put a layer of thorns and soil, a layer of thorns, to make sure the hyena will not you will not easily get the body. So for 9 years, we were in Karamoja. What helps me to rejoice, my wife and I, is that we were preaching the gospel, not only by our words, but our lives. Your presence as a missionary in a place, however difficult it is, you are preaching by your presence. So even now, many years since we were there, they remember us and they say, our people. They claim us. So we have a belonging to Karamoja. We were there for that long time, and then we came back. So that is our missionary experience. So when I say I'm a missionary for Africa, I know that I mean it. Born in Kigezi in southern Uganda, moved to Hoima, went to Karamoja, and although it was in my own country, but I have a wider experience than my fellow clerics who have been in their own locality. They have been there for a long time. They don't know what happens. In our tradition, we say, I'm sure in English you can know it, a child who doesn't move thinks the mother is the best cook. Huh? So for me, while in Karamoja, we learned Swahili. We learned Swahili, and my Kenyan and Tanzanian friends will know that Swahili is a uniting language. We have been fighting in Uganda because we don't have a unifying language. The moment you leave your own district, you are a stranger because you can't communicate. But Swahili unites us very, very well. So the Karamoja experience shaped us, enriched us for the gospel, for the ministry, and for realizing that you can be in any place so long as you know who has sent you there. I was in Nairobi visiting a friend, and I saw on the wall, those writings are very good, and they said, when God sends you to a rocky road, he gives you the right boots. Yeah? He gives you the right boots. So I think I was being prepared even for a greater ministry. Now that I am a bishop, I know that God was preparing me for that. Now, I will tell you what I have done between Karamoja and Masindi-Kitara, so that you know my journey. I decided to tell you this because you will know how God can enrich our ministry by obedience to him. When I left Karamoja, I went back to Hoima. I was vicar of St. Peter's Cathedral in Hoima. And Bishop Wilson, a graduate of Trinity, a friend of John and many of you, Bishop Wilson Turumanya, I was made the vicar while he was the dean. And for 4 years, I was the vicar of the cathedral, and we enjoyed ministering among people. The cathedral was always full. All Saints had not become a parish. It was just a congregation where Lydia has been a vicar before she came here. So for 4 years, I was vicar of the cathedral in Hoima. And then I felt I was still young. I needed to go back to school. And I went to St. Paul's United Theological College, Limuru in Kenya. Dr. Grant had just left, but students were talking about him. And I was there for 4 years, and I did my Bachelor of Divinity degree, and I interacted more with Kenyans. I enjoyed githeri, the Kikuyu food, and we were there, and I was the chairman of the international students. So when I graduated, I went back to Hoima, and then I was made Archdeacon of Masindi. And then the diocese had allowed the Archdeacon of Masindi to prepare for a diocese. It was not easy. So they told me, Archdeacon, if you can help us to organize for the diocese, you'll have done us a good job. We remobilized and we built a diocesan administration block, an office. When it was finished, that was 5 years, then I said I need to go back to school. And they wanted to make me something else, but I said, no, I want to go back to school. I thank this lady, the best friend I love in the world. He has been patient. She said, yes, you can go back to school. I had worked hard because I like writing. I had applied to many institutions, colleges, but not Trinity. I didn't know the address of Trinity. Fuller Theological Seminary, Asbury Theological Seminary in Kentucky, and they had admitted me. But on my way, I passed the UK because I had a friend who hosted me. And I went to Rochester, Bishop Nazirari's diocese, before he retired. I was speaking in a church. And then one friend came to me after my sermon. She was a lady. She spoke to me. You're going to the US, why don't you go to Oxford? She gave me an address. She gave me a contact telephone. And I went. I called them. They said, come for an interview. Oxford Center for Mission Studies. She didn't know about that. Then they said, you qualify to be with us. And your course will take 1 year. At Asbury Theological Seminary, I was going to do world missions, and it would take me 2 years. But at Oxford Center for Mission Studies, I was told it would be 1 year. But of course, very taxing. Students, you know. An MA in Theology and Development. That's my course. So when I was accepted, and my friends, because I had spent 3 months, I was preaching all over England, and many friends, they had a meeting without my knowledge, and they said, who are your friends in England? And I had a full list. I gave them the telephones, the churches I had preached. They wrote to them, they called Oxford. It was going to cost me 13,000 English pounds. That is too much money, 1999. But because God owns the money and the silver and gold and 1,000 cows on the hills, that was not a problem. That was not a problem. Then my friend who was hosting me, they agreed to write all those friends, and I sent her, it was a fax. I used Isaiah 55. My ways are not your ways. My thoughts are not your thoughts. I have been offered a place at Oxford Center for Mission Studies, not at Asbury Theological Seminary. So I'm going to study in the UK, not in the US. I sent an email to my bishop, and it was okay. What a surprise. And that included an air ticket in between to go and see my family. So what do you think was working? God was at work. When you are faithful in mission, in ministry, you get many surprises. That is one of, I can't call it a miracle because it is a possible thing, but it is one of the surprises that God gave me. So, after 4 months in the UK, I went to become a student, and I was there. 1999 and 2000 was different. There was no snow. I was in England, November, December to January, no snow, just a bit of it. What I saw recently was more than what I saw in England. And they said that year was very different in the UK. So I did my work. Students take heart. I would sleep at midnight, wake up at 3, because when you want to present the professors and your colleagues, you have to know what you have done. You have to do modern, mature research, that you don't say things that are not grounded and are not factual. So, and you are on the computer. You are not handwriting your things, you are on the computer. So take heart, you can go. You can cross the bridge. So I did my course, I finished, and in the year 2000, in June, I was through. I went back to Uganda. And then I knew I had finished with Masindi. This time I was made the Diocese Secretary of Bunyoro-Kitara Diocese. And Bishop Wilson was retiring. And look at me, a man with 2 degrees, very experienced in pastoral ministry, and in Uganda, not in America, not in Kenya or Tanzania. There is a lot of politics when one wants to become a bishop. Because the clergy will gang and say, I want to get it, I want to get it. That's the politics I'm talking about. So they begin making groups to support a particular person. My wife and I, Bishop was retiring, and it was time to begin thinking about the next bishop for Bunyoro-Kitara. I want to tell you the most humbling thing that we did. My wife and I said, this is not for us. And there was a diocese you have heard about Muhabura. They had elected a bishop normally, but a group had refused him, and therefore that was not good. So we said, that is not for us. Friends, when you wait and you are focused and you look to God, you pray, He'll give you the answer. And then my testimony by that time was saying, I am the happiest man in the world because I declined my candidature and I was a happy man, my wife was a happy person. People said, you have let us down. I said, no, I haven't let down my God. And Archbishop Livingstone and the bishops heard about it. Muhabura was a big issue. Kitara, a clergyman who qualifies, steps down, and they said, this is the man. The provincial secretariat was falling vacant because Dr. George Tibesugwa, was going to be principal of Bishop Barham University. So they told me to present my CV. I did, and we were 4 people in the province, and I got the job of provincial administrator. And I was there for 1 year with Livingstone. Then we elected Henry, our Archbishop. I organized his enthronement January 2004. And then we worked together for a year. Masindi was ready. Masindi was ready. And another issue, which is not here, when you are not indigenous, that's another issue. So the people said, no, he's not indigenous. That became an issue. And one day I said, I'm going to give up this issue of Masindi-Kitara. She said, what about the people of Masindi? So I did not want to end in the belly of the fish. I said, yes, if it is your will, Lord, I will go to Masindi. And there was chaos, there was court cases, not because I had done anything wrong, but some people wanted to block my going to Masindi. And that was dismissed with costs. And they had accused me and my Archbishop Henry concocting issues, but that was not possible. We went to Masindi 19th December 2004, and the politician who is equivalent to a district commissioner, but he's a politically elected, was the man who was ahead of it. On my consecration day, he confessed and stood up to say, bygones are bygones. And he came and we hugged. What a wonderful moment. And I said, thank you, Lord. Then, as I was beginning my ministry, I made an appointment with him. I went to his office. He had given me 30 minutes, but we spent 1 hour. And I said, can I pray for you? I blessed him and his work. And a few weeks later, a few months, his daughter was bringing a future husband to introduce. I was there. But unfortunately, he died 3 months later. At the funeral, I preached the gospel and led the funeral with a clear conscience because we had reconciled. Friends, never have grudge with a person and you don't reconcile. What will happen in heaven when you meet? In fact, you may not go there. So for me, my opportunity was that I reconciled with all those who were against me. And I told the diocese, do not tell me who said what. I don't need that. Let's bury the past and we begin on a clean page. Those people listened. I told the clergy, stay where you are. I am not a politician. I have come as a pastor, as a bishop, as an overseer. Let us work together. And what I do, Lydia will tell you, I am only team leader. The clergy and lay readers are my teammates. I'm just a leader, and I need to keep together as a team. So I preach love, forgiveness, and reconciliation. And people were listening. What is he saying? I didn't bombard anybody. I didn't criticize anybody. And they all came back, and we are friends today. Praise the Lord. We are friends today. And I want to tell you, never win evil with evil. That's biblical. But when you have an enemy, love him or her. Make sure you win him on your side, and you'll be blessed. So that is the blessing. Even when friends like John come, like Deb and other people like Janet, they find a very diocese that has sanity, that has peace. And starting from that ground, then we opened our hearts to God for blessing. I want to tell you briefly what God has done for us. And remember, on the north, we have the River Nile. On the northern part of the diocese, neighboring Acholi, where the Lord's Resistance Army has been terrorizing people, capturing young people from schools, and they did not cross the river into Masindi-Kitara because they were scared of the river Nile, where it leaves Lake Choga through Karuma into Lake Albert. But the people who were displaced came over to Masindi. We had over 70,000 displaced persons in Masindi, the Acholi. They have now gone back, but they found good refuge in Bunyoro Kitara Kingdom, because we are part of the kingdom, and in Masindi itself. Masindi-Kitara Diocese has 36 parishes. We were 24 when we started. Those of you who are interested in church planting, we can share with you some of our experiences. So we now have 36 parishes, and we have 280 congregations. 280 congregations. For us, lay readers are trained, they are commissioned, and they are full-time. So they man the congregation, and they are under vicar. So our average number of congregations in a parish, you find about 15 congregations, 20 congregations, 10 for rural parishes. So one vicar, guess how he moves about. He doesn't drive, he moves on a bicycle. But now, because of hard work, the vicars have bought motorbikes to make them travel easily around the parish. And now, because I saw that we needed trained clergy, I made it my priority to train clergy. And for us in Uganda, the issue of clergy women is not an issue. In the last decade of the last century, we ordained our women. So Lydia is not the first clergy woman. We have many in other dioceses who have clergy archdeacons, because we know, as you know, as New Testament scholars, the women were the first people to see the risen Lord. So why do we put them in the back door? They are wonderful people. Lydia was leading a good parish in town, and they miss her. But her husband was given charge of that parish, and he's doing very well. So training of the clergy was priority for me. And I have had people like Lydia who have gone to school. Well, I sent someone to Redcliffe College in UK to do mission, and is now the vice chaplain, deputy chairman of chaplain of UCU, Canon George Kasangaki. So we have Lydia here. We have someone at UCU doing masters in divinity and theology. We have had many graduates in Bachelor of Divinity degrees from UCU, from Bishop Barham University, Kabale. That's where Lydia went for her diploma. So Namugongo, Uganda Martyrs Theological Seminary, we have trained many people as personnel development. Then we continue the work of mission and evangelism. That is why we have mission teams, mission partners like Trinity, Dr. Canon George MacDonald and other people. We have some people in St. Andrews, Mount Pleasant in South Carolina, where we shall be visiting briefly next week. And because of our partnership with St. Andrews, we developed a medical mission. That South Carolina Medical University, through Palmetto Medical Initiatives, sent doctors to Masindi-Kitara to do mobile clinics as part of evangelism. Hospitals in Uganda have medicines, have doctors, but the care and the corruption makes it hard for people. Even mothers, when they are delivering, you have to buy gloves and other things from the clinics. And guess who owns the clinics? The medical doctors, who are partly in the hospital and partly in the private medical service. So we moved in parishes to do mobile clinics, treat diseases, no operations, but people came up in big numbers. And I said to my friends from South Carolina that I need a dispensary. That my vision, a long-term vision. And they said, Bishop, why do you need a dispensary or a hospital when there is a hospital across? I said, if you went to that, you would see it is hell. And they went. Americans are very wonderful people. They went and did research, and They found out what I was telling them. They saw a VSO, a British, Dr. Chris, told them the same. They went to the government officer in charge of health. Same message. We had never sat in a meeting, but they proved that if the church started such a facility, it would be doing curative and preventive medical care. So they came back to me after being convinced, and they asked for land, and we gave them 4 acres of land where we have put up Masindi-Kitara Medical Center. It was opened by the representative of the president on 12th December last year, and I want to tell you, it is speaking a huge message in Masindi. People come, the care is not anywhere near what they get in hospitals. Now we have finished the first ward, and the gospel is being preached, and people, Muslims, Catholics, other religions are coming to the same place, and that is part of mission, practical gospel, and we are thankful to God. We continue to teach discipleship and stewardship, and some of the courses or seminars that Canon John leads with his team is about that, to encourage our people to know that they need to remain good stewards of the Lord, giving our time, our skills, whatever we have for God's glory, so that we can continue in the ministry. We have started a new secondary school. It is called Masindi-Kitara Christian High School. We intend to teach knowledge to our young people and also morals, because that's a big issue. We have a vocational training by Mothers Union. Women are here will not understand what Mothers Union means, as Mama was telling you, but Mothers Union decided to put up a vocational training center because of the young women who drop out of school due to financial problems, and now they do tailoring. They have been graduating every year, and they are now, we give them a building for the youth to do that, and they are now having a plan to construct their own building so that they can continue helping the girls. When they finish, each one buys a sewing machine, goes back into the community to serve the family and the community and to earn a living. And then Mothers Union also decided to build a girls' hostel. What happens in Uganda, girls searching for education leave villages, their parents send them to town, and they are so vulnerable. They are rich people who want to take advantage of the young girls because they don't have money, they don't have money for upkeep, and here is a rich man, a boda rider. Boda is a motorcycle which is a public transport. Motorcycles in Uganda are used as public transport. So those boys, they get daily income, and they take advantage of the young girls who come from village to town, and they spoil their future. They make them pregnant. So Mothers Union came up with a vision to build a hostel so that the girls can find a good home where they can stay and go to school to get their education. And that's another blessing to the diocese. Agriculture. Masindi, like other parts of Uganda, is a very fertile area. We don't use fertilizer yet in Uganda because the land is so fertile. And it is not limited. People have big acreages of land. But what they do, they use a hand hoe, and that is not much. You use your energy, and you cannot do much. If it is much, you can do half an acre as a family for each season. So we are dreaming high, and we say if you can get modern tools like a tractor, and we help our parishes, our churches, our families. Because of hardship of families, income is difficult. We don't pay our pastors very well, clergy, and we allow them to do some kind of business for the family. And if we had a good tractor for the diocese, it would help to improve on the farming, and people would get enough food for the families, enough food to sell, and send their children to school. That's my project. I need your prayers, because God owns money. He owns even money for a tractor. Amen? Amen. Then Mothers Union started home-based care for the HIV and AIDS people, those who are infected directly and those who are affected. Either your relative is shut in, is on ARVs. Mothers Union started a ministry that mothers and home caregivers can move about. We only managed to give them bicycles. They can go around, and take, if it is a kilo of sugar or something for the patient, and encouragement, praying together. So we have intensified home care giving to the people who are affected and infected with HIV/AIDS. And I'm chairman for the district advisory committee. I'm the chairman for the TASO committee for the district. It's a very strong organization that handles issues of HIV/AIDS in Uganda. So I'm chair for Masindi committee. And we have another upcoming social issue that many teenagers, young girls, get pregnant and they don't want the babies because they don't have care. You hear them throwing the babies on the streets, anywhere. So we are thinking as a diocese to have a ministry and start an orphanage for those people as a way of helping young babies not to die, but give them life and a future. We have a very old cathedral, St. Matthew's. Those of you who have been in Masindi, it was built over 80 years ago, and it is sun-dried bricks, and we have finished architectural design and the estimates, so by the time we get home, maybe the foundation will be over. In Uganda, we don't have the money on the account fast. We have the idea, sell the idea to everybody, and when everybody says yes, you begin. If you don't begin, nothing will ever begin. And we have faith, because as we build and people see, they can give money. We had a fundraising on 22nd. Lydia was very happy to know. And people gave their cows and goats, and we raised over 50 million Uganda shillings in cash and pledges. So that's another gigantic project we're embarking on. So that is wonderful. The environment, we have a desk for tree planting. In Uganda, I don't know, in Kenya, they were doing very well many years ago. Pandamiti, tree planting was a campaign. But for us, they are cutting charcoal because we don't have electricity for cooking, and deforestation is a big issue. So as a diocese, we have an environmental desk, mainly basing on tree planting. Then children ministry is very much encouraged. We have someone in charge of children ministry to encourage people and coordinate the work of children ministry in the diocese. And then our young people, the majority in Uganda are in church, or are church-going people, the young people. And we need to keep them in the church. Because if we don't, then they will stray away and be attracted and copy things from the West on television and the internet, which are not beneficial for their growth. So we are saying we need to intensify the youth ministry, keep them in church, allow them to jump and dance and shout for the Lord, even when the music is so high, but for the Lord. We have established contemporary worship because the Pentecostal churches came out and they were doing that and praising and praying in tongues. We want to remain Anglicans, but allow young people to rejoice and shout for the Lord in the church. So in St. Matthew's Cathedral and All Saints, at 6:30, when you are late, you find no place. And now that it has become very attractive, even old people come to that. Contemporary, we call it renewal service. People are free to dance and jump and shout for the Lord, but they remain focused as Anglicans and read the scripture, and the gospel is preached. So we want to thank God because the young people are giving the opportunity even to do ministry, to lead services, to preach and read scripture in church. We have peace and conflict resolution. We saw that there are many people who are not at peace within themselves. You know, conflict begins from within you, and it is transferred either to your wife or husband or neighbor. So we have a desk specifically for peace and conflict resolution. We have someone who has had some course, and the province has the same desk. So we do that to enable our people to think about how they can be agents of conflict, or peace and conflict resolution, peace building and conflict resolution. We want to thank God. In 7 years, what I have told you is just a testimony that we are open to mission and partnership with churches and agencies. Trinity is one of the strong partners in ministry and mission, and therefore within the Anglican Communion, within the Anglican province of Uganda, with our neighbors, with our sister dioceses, we are open And we want people to come and share with us ministry. And I want to invite you, if one day you feel God guiding you to be a missionary, Masindi-Kitara Diocese is a mission field. You can come to Uganda. So I thought, friends, I should tell you that, and I will invite questions, because I have told you my experience as a missionary, my experience as a pastor, my experience as an archdeacon, and my experience now as a bishop. But I feel being a bishop is an opportunity. I have a wider area of mission, but I remain a pastor. I tell my pastors that it is only the shirt that changed the color. I am still a pastor. I'm still a pastor. Yes, and that is what I am. When I relate with young people, the youth, the children, and the mothers, they bless me too. And it doesn't make me a less bishop. So that is me. And I will invite questions. If you feel you have any question for clarification, so anything about mission, and I know I have many missionaries here, we can have time to discuss. Thank you for listening, and God bless you.